Today is a good day because the first episode of Steel Ball Run just came out on Netflix. Steel Ball Run First Stage. And I do have some concerns about when the next one is gonna come out, but I'm just gonna put that aside for now. We're gonna revisit that in a couple minutes, but right now I just wanna say, God, that was good. I just finished watching it just like 10 minutes ago. It was incredible. I loved every part of it, and okay. This video is really just me geeking out and also pointing some stuff out that I immediately caught. There's like no reason for this video other than I just really like JoJo. I loved it and I just want to yap about it for a little bit. So that's what I'm going to do. And my relationship with Steel Ball Run specifically is interesting because I read Steel Ball Run once 12 years ago. I'm old. 12 years ago is the first and only time I ever read Steel Ball Run, and so I really am just navigating through what I just watched with the image that is in my head that remains from that one experience 12 years ago. And the way that I used to consume media 12 years ago, definitely not the same as I do now. And I don't think I probably gave it the amount of care and attention that I probably would now. So it wasn't ideal. But in my head, I kept thinking to myself, like, I could reread it, but I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait until the animated. And then years passed and more years passed. And now it's 2026. It's been a long time, but we're finally here. And I'm watching it, and in my head, I'm like, it's such an interesting experience because I had been away from JoJo for a while. I mean, not fully away because I just can't shut up about it, but it's been a while since I had anything new JoJo come in, because back in the day with the animes, it took like a year or two for them to come out. This feels longer. So that kind of sucked. It happened similarly between parts 5 and 6, but now that I'm watching something new, and it's something that is truly new, because I have so little memory of Steel Ball Run in my head that watching this for the first time felt like watching it for the first time. Except that I had a lot of stuff that I kind of saw, and I was like pointing at the screen like, let's go, because I kept thinking and remembering certain things and a lot of other things that I wouldn't have picked up on, except for the fact that I am like a JoJo historian at this point because I just care that much about it, because I haven't shut up about it in like 12, 13 years. So that's the reason why I can pick up on a lot of stuff. And it's this thing of like Steel Ball Run. I think the best description that I ever heard of Steel Ball Run was by Wooly from Wooly Versus. I think he described it as a celebration of JoJo. And I agree with that. I fully agree with that. And it's so apparent too, because like you're watching Steel Ball Run and it's like everything is echoes of the past. Everything is echoes of the things that you love, you know? Here's a Zeppeli, here's a Joestar, here's a Brando. And they all look like not the same, but if you squint enough, you could be like, okay. And then it becomes more and more and more apparent when you start to see a lot of things that are just kind of happening. Because you'll see a character named Abdul, who is just Abdul, who's also named after Paula Abdul with a B, but this one is a V. And it's just Abdul, right? And it just looks exactly like Abdul from Part 3, from Stardust Crusaders. And it's just Abdul, and he's just here with a camel and he's racing. And I am watching the sub. I am watching the Japanese voiceover for this. And if you watch the English dub, I'm pretty sure it's really good because Kaiji Tag is playing Gyro. And that sounds awesome. I'm going to go watch the dub later. But the sub is just the same voice actor as Abdul. It's the same guy. Like I had him pulled up here. Kenta Miyake. He voiced Abdul, and then he comes in for Steel Ball Run, and he voices Abdul. They're the same character, and it's so funny. It's not just funny, but it is an echo of the past. Like, it's just straight up is an echo. Ermed Abdul. That's the name. Wait, he also voices Steven Steele? Damn. Okay, I didn't know that. He also voiced Steven Steele. Huh, damn. It is an echo of the past. It really is. And this happens consistently. What do I talk about? Well, when Diego is like speeding ahead of Gyro, you can hear Diego's theme. And it's just Dio's theme. It's just the same leitmotif of Dio's theme. And it's using the same ominous like strings that Dio's theme would use in part 3. is the exact same like sound. I'm listening to it and I'm like, oh my god, it's just the same. This is not the same, but in some way it is kind of an echo. But the voice actor that plays Diego is not Koyasu, but it's the guy who played Sale in Part 5. And if you don't remember who Sale is, I don't blame you. That's just something that I know because I'm crazy like that. Sale is the guy that invented the Breath of the Wild time stop mechanic, so he deserves some credit, you know? He's the guy that fought Mist on top of a truck. Like, he would, like, freeze things in place, and he would freeze a bullet, and he would, like, tap it a bunch, and then the bullet would shoot. And that's the Breath of the Wild time stop power. Like, that's Sale. And he made that shit up. It's great. And it's the same voice actor for Diego. And I'm so crazy that, like, I heard him talk, and I was like, that's Sale. Like, I know that guy. So, and that brings up an interesting point, and it's that I think that they are using... for the characters that really matter, the characters that are like really like main characters, they are using different voice actors, and they're going for something different because they are trying to tell you like these are different characters, you know, like these are not the same characters, these are different. It is kind of making me think about how they didn't voice the guy that saved Josuke in Part 4, because if he had been the same voice actor, people would have gone crazy and they would have thought that it was time traveling Yosuke. But if he had been a different guy, then people wouldn't have speculated, people would have just been weirded out by it. And part of the speculation of that is something that makes Part 4 interesting to me, I think. So I think it makes sense that they didn't voice it at all. In this, what they're doing with Steel Ball Run is essentially telling you, like, no, this is completely different. This is a new world. This is a new universe. So every character that's like a main character, we have Johnny Joestar, we have Jairo Zeppeli, we have Diego Brando. They're all voiced by different people. So you should know that these are not the same people. But that does create a really funny effect whenever we see Abdul, because Abdul is a minor side character. It doesn't matter. He falls off and we just never see him again. But it's really funny because the fact that he has the same voice actor in Japanese really just makes it look like this is Abdul from Part 3 and he got teleported here when he got eaten by Cream. But this is the Vanilla Ice dimension. He got isekai by Vanilla Ice into the horse world. Like that's what happened to Abdul. He's back. He got his arms back and he's racing a camel in the North American continent. Like it's so funny. And that is my head kind of moving forward. Like it's so funny that like if he had been a different voice actor, I would have been like, oh, it's just an echo of Abdul, and that's like fun. It's like a fun celebration. But because he's voiced by the same guy, I'm like, that's just Abdul. This is where he came after he got eaten. This is it. Like this is his future. He got into a horse race, you know? He's riding a camel. And the same happened with when Poco Loco. Oh, I love Poco Loco. When Poco Loco is talking about his fortune, he's like, I went to a fortune teller and she told me that I shouldn't be afraid, that I'm really lucky. And then you see the fortune teller and it's just Enya. And if you listen to the Japanese voice track, it's just Enya. It's just genuinely Enya's voice actress. It's so funny. They are just bringing echoes of the past, and it's just like yeah, this is all JoJo. This is the JoJo you remember. It's like they're bringing all the like JoJo Avengers and they're like, yeah, everybody get together here, and that makes sense. That goes so well with the spirit of Steel Ball Run because, like I said before, Steel Ball Run does feel like a celebration. It feels like a celebration of JoJo, and seeing everybody come together from the past and be like, yeah, we're all here and we're all together and we're all talking, and it's so good. You want to hear more? There's more. The sound effect that they use for the fucking steel ball, the spin sound effect, is the same sound effect as the fucking ripple, as Hamon. Hamon makes the same fucking sound effect as the spin, and it actually makes more sense in the spin than it ever did in Hamon, because the sound is just like very like high pitched, like resonant sound, and it makes sense to see like the ball like vibrating and like spinning, and it's like it kind of makes sense that it would make a sound like that. In Hamon, it's just like it makes sense when like your fingers glow like yellow, and then you just poke something and it's like there's the sun juice, so it actually makes more sense as the spin sound effect, and it's so good that it's just the same sound effect. There's more. Diego has this thing that they show in which like he like teleports, which is funny to see. Like he's so good, he's so skilled that like when he moves around, he like teleports from one side to the other. Like you actually see him teleport physically in like one shot. And whenever he does that, there is a sound effect that accompanies it that is not the same, but it is a little bit reminiscent of the world. It is a little bit reminiscent of the world sound effect. And that gives me full confidence that I'm going to hear that sound effect, that exact same sound effect later. There's so many things that are amazing about this, and I'm geeking out over me being a JoJo nerd. But there's also a lot here about Steel Ball Run that I didn't really appreciate when I first read it because I was stupid and young, and now I'm old as fuck and I'm really liking it. I remember when I read this the first time, I remember that I saw so many characters and I was like, I kind of dismissed them the first time that I read this, like 12 years ago, because in my head I was like, oh, here's like another like episodic JoJo weirdo, you know, like we're just gonna beat them up and then they're just gonna disappear forever. Like that's the way I saw it like 12 years ago. And now I'm watching this and I'm like, let's fucking go Poco Loco. That's my boy. That's my boy Poco Loco. And it's funny because it's not even because I remember much. I remember certain things. And I'm not going to say what they are because, hey, if you're watching this and you haven't read Steel Ball Run and you don't know where it goes, I got you. I'm not going to spoil things. A lot of things I cannot spoil because I don't really remember very well. But there's a lot of things that I do remember and I'm not going to say them. You're safe. It's okay. But Poco Loco, like, I love the character of Poco Loco. And it's funny because Poco Loco is also an echo. And this is something that you can see in Araki's work. If you see Araki's work and if you follow his body of work and you follow what he's about, you see Poco Loco and you know the Araki loves Poco Loco. Because Poco Loco is this young man and he's working on the fields. Not even dreaming, because he's not like dreaming about a better life or anything like that. He's just like looking at clouds and he's like doing a thing that characters that Araki tends to love do a lot. And when I say those things, I mean characters like Polnareff, characters like Mista. Characters like that are characters that Araki loves. And that really goes into like the mentality and the laws of the universe that JoJo operates on, which is fate. And the reason why is because those are the characters that accept the world for what it is. They are the characters that just kind of let fate take the wheel a lot of the times, and especially Mista. And I think Mista is one of those characters that really cements exactly what Araki is about. And I think that Poco Loco is the evolution of that character. Because Poco Loco shows up and he's like, I don't want to care about nothing. I just want to look at clouds all day and just enjoy my life. He's like, I was told that I have good luck. I was told that, you know, I don't have to worry about things. So you know what? I'm not going to do that. That's fine. I just want to enjoy my time looking at clouds. His friend is like, you know, you gotta work because, you know, like I just convinced the like landlord, the landowner or whatever to pay us 150 instead of 100, you know, give you 150 pay instead of 100. And then Poco Loco is like, wait, how much? And then he looks at the newspaper that was just next to him and he's like, the entry for the race is $150. And he's like, shit, okay. And then he's like, I'm just gonna get into the race. Why not, man? I have the money for it. I'm just gonna work. I'm gonna get the 150 and I'm gonna get in the race. And then he gets in the race and he's like, I'm really lucky, so I'm gonna win. I know it. And then he oversleeps and he shows up late and he's like, oh fuck, I got late. Oh, it's fine. I'm just gonna go anyway. Let's go. And then he just starts riding off. And then he just catches up. And he catches up because he follows like a group that was splintering off to go into a place in which no person could ever pass except for the man who's just running, Sandman, and he's just climbing. I love Sandman too, by the way. But then Poco Loco is like, oh man, okay, I'm just gonna jump anyway. Like, I'm lucky, I can do this. And then he just jumps, and he almost falls off, and then he grabs the lasso, because Sandman told him, like, hey, you have the lasso, you can use that rope. And it's like, you're right, okay. And then he gets up, and then he catches up, and he's right there at the top of the group. He's not immediately there, but then he follows Johnny and Jaira into the forest, and then he just closes his eyes and he's like, I'm lucky, I got this shit. And then he does. And then Jaira fucks with him. He gets hit, but his horse is still going and it's dragging him. So he's like, I'm lucky, man, because like when I fell, my horse didn't get hit, so I just keep going. And then he's like, I'm so lucky and I got this shit. I'm gonna run downhill. Like the least advisable thing to do. He just runs downhill. He trips. And he falls, but he falls on top of a cow's carcass, like a corpse, and then he just rides like a skateboard, and he's like, man, I'm so lucky. There was just a dead cow in there in the grass. Like, nobody saw it, but it was there. It's the funniest shit in the world, because like everyone else is like in a shonen sports anime, and Poco Loco is like Mr. Magoo. And it's not just Mr. Magoo, but it's also like, this is what Araki loves. This is the kind of character that Araki fucking loves. Because Araki loves a character that is just like, I am not creating problems. I'm just letting life just take me. I'm just riding along the way. I'm just going, and whatever happens, happens. And that is the type of character that Araki rewards. He rewards that behavior every time. And I say rewards that behavior because that implicates that those people are real. They are not. They're fictional characters that Araki makes, but Araki loves making those characters, is what I'm saying. Araki loves that specific type of character. And it's something that now I'm watching, like in 2026. Like back when I read it 12 years ago, I was like, who is this guy? Like, who gives a shit? This guy's just crazy. He's just kind of funny, but like, it felt like he was an antagonist that I should be rooting against. But now that I'm watching it with new eyes, different eyes, I'm like, this guy rules. He's sick. I love this guy. He's so funny. He's so quirky. And you kind of root for him because this is a guy that like you follow and you're like, damn, man, like this guy is cool. Like he just wants to have a good time and he wants to win. And that's it. And that motivation is a motivation that it might not be the most dramatic, but it is a motivation that like you follow and you're like, yeah, man, like have a good time. Why not? And it's so awesome. I love Poco Loco. Sandman shows up. And here's the thing is that I do know that they cut some stuff from this. I read someone like listing a couple things that they cut. They also cut from like Johnny's backstory, I believe. And I don't know if they cut that because they're not going to show it or if they cut it just because they're going to show it later, which is fine. Like move the place in which some stuff shows up in order to make for a better time or better storytelling. That's fine. I have no problem with that. But I do love that Sandman just shows up and he's like, these legs are enough to win the white man's money. And I'm like, oh my god, I love this character. I love this fucking character. He shows up, he has no money, and it's like, you need money, you need the white man's money to get in. And he just has like an emerald or something. Like, he just glows like the fucking Pulp Fiction briefcase, and it's like, okay, you're in. And then he just starts running, and he runs really well, and he's right there at the top, and it's awesome. I love Sandman. He's such a cool character. Like I want the white man's money. Like I know that that's not the extent of the character, but it's a line that I read, and I was like, oh my god. And the fact that he's like, these legs are enough. You know, like I don't need a horse. I just need these legs. Oh, that's such a good character. I love that. Okay, I need Jiraiya and Johnny. Okay, the thing about Jiraiya and Johnny is that like we don't get a lot of them. I mean, we do, but we also don't. Right? Because I think that Jiraiya and Johnny are characters that like we're gonna follow and we're gonna care about them and we're gonna learn about them as we go, rather than at the beginning. At the beginning, you're just kind of watching things unfold before you, and that's really interesting. We do see a backstory with Johnny, and we do see what happened to him. It's weird that I'm doing like this like analysis of it, because like it's not my first time that I've seen this, but it is my first time in 12 years, so I don't really remember very well. So I'm treating it as new, I suppose, on some level in my brain. But we're seeing Johnny, and we're seeing how he was a prodigy. We're seeing how his father didn't care for him. We haven't seen the extent of that. I remember that, but we've seen how he didn't care. His brother died, and then he started excelling. He tried really hard. He wanted to be the best, and he was at the top, and then he was kind of a dick, and then somebody shot him in the back, and then now he's paralyzed. And I do have to say, the fact that Araki just made a paralyzed main character is amazing. Is incredible. Making a disabled character to that degree be your main character is something that is really commendable. It's something that to this day, like Steel Ball Run, I don't remember when it started, like early 2000s maybe, 2002, something like that. Even to this day, like over 20 years later, that's not something that you see often. Or like at all, really, having a disabled character to that degree. So the fact that Araki was like, I'm gonna do that. I want my main character to be a disabled man in a wheelchair, and it's like, that's awesome. I love that. And I love that is like a big motivation of Johnny, is that like his disability is something that gets in the way of his life, and he's like, I want to get my legs back. And that's just what he's seeking, right? Like that's the entire motivation for getting in the race. It's also something in which he's regaining something that he has lost, or he has taken for lost, in that he is riding again. And he's a very good rider. Like he's in the top 5, whatever, at the race with the best. And it's like he's disabled, but like you're seeing him succeed, and it's this thing of like, yeah, you're rooting for this guy, and it's awesome. And Gyro is truly a character of all time. Gyro is a character that people love. People have loved for over 2 decades at this point. People love Gyro. And when I read that, I was like, damn, Gyro's kind of fun. And now I'm like, damn, Gyro's kind of fun again. It's fun because like he's this mysterious presence, and it's a little intimidating at first, and definitely in this like first like episode that we've seen. But I know that as we go, and you can already see it here, is that Jared does have this like little quirks and shit that he does that are just funny. First of all, his teeth just being golden go separately, and he's like, yeah, huh? And his shitty laugh, his shitty yo huh? And he does that multiple times. It's so funny, so quirky, very likable. I love that guy. That guy's great. But like the juxtaposition of like him being like mysterious and like a figure that we're chasing because we want to know more, and he's so skilled and powerful, while simultaneously being a guy that's just like, wait, you had a quirk? I didn't know that. Like he's talking to his horse, like shit, I didn't know that. God damn, that guy could tell that I didn't. Shit, okay. He's just like laughing about it. And then he's like, God, he put the steel balls on the horse's ass, which made the horse go flying. Valkyrie started flying and then destroyed the bridge in which Diego was on. That was funny. It was funny to just see the horse flying. It's so good. That was just a great experience. You just hearing the soundtrack was amazing. The eye catches were great. The fact that Dio's soundtrack came back as Diego's soundtrack, but same leitmotif. We're seeing Abdul back in his isekai adventures in Horse World. All of these echoes of the past. It really is a celebration. And I love Poco Loco. And I love that, like, you can see that this is Araki's favorite character, like, immediately. Because, like, Araki really likes this type of character. The character that really just kind of lets life pass and they just write it out because they are not so concerned in trying to mold life into what they want life to be. It's just like, no, man, whatever happens. I'm okay with that. I'm and he's like certain that it's like, yeah, I'm gonna be okay. And that's it, and just letting it happen. That, like, he closed his eyes when he was in the forest. It's like, nothing's gonna hit me. I know it, and he's right. If it hadn't been for Gyro, then he would have been completely unharmed. But because of Gyro, he also remained in the race because the horse didn't get hit. So, like, man, all of this is amazing. This first like episode was incredible. These characters and just seeing Steel Ball run for the first time in like 12 years and like appreciating it with new eyes for me is amazing. I'm very happy with this. I'm very happy with Steel Ball Run. I think that's gonna be it. I don't know if there's anything else I want to say. I mean, the thing I want to say is that I am concerned about exactly when we're gonna get more. Because I don't fucking trust Netflix. Can you blame me? I know what they did to Stone Ocean. Because in case you're new here, what they did with Stone Ocean, the previous part of JoJo, part 6, is that they released it in an extremely fucked up way. They released the first, was it 12 or 13? They released the first 13 episodes, and then they just disappear for 9 months. And then they released the next 13 episodes, and then they disappear for 2 months, and then they released the next 12. And that was Stone Ocean. And it really killed the community. Because, like, the community had gathered around the idea of JoJo Fridays or whatever. I say whatever because it was JoJo Fridays, but I think later on they became JoJo Saturdays. I don't remember when Golden Wind came out, specifically what day. But it was a tradition that, like, fans had of, like, talking about JoJo every week, and whenever JoJo was happening, it was an event. But the community, like, died out because of Netflix release of Stone Ocean, because they did this, like, binge releases that I fucking hate in modern media. Just, like, watch the whole thing immediately at once. It's like, fuck you. But they did that. They release all episodes at once, and then they disappear for a year before you could see the next chunk of episodes. And that sucked. That really sucked. Because, like, there's no hype for it. If you lead into it week by week, there is a lot of hype. There's a lot of fan work. There's a lot of fan conversation. But none of that happened. And it is a shame because if any part deserved that, it was part 6. Part 6 absolutely deserved that. And I am concerned that something like that might happen with part 7. There is a concern of mine that they're just going to release every stage, quote unquote, as like an OVA. Like they just release every stage or whatever. Every section of the anime is like 40 minutes chunks every like half a year or whatever. And if they do that, I'm gonna be really, really upset. I'm gonna be really disappointed with that because like I just want the weekly releases back. I'll take bi-weekly, but like spacing them out so far away from one another, I'm like, that sucks because like I don't want to see binge, or I don't want to see spacing them out so far away from one another. Because if you space them out like that, then people forget what the fuck happened the previous time. There's no hype. And if you release a binge, then people binge it in like a week, and there's maybe some fan chatter for like a couple weeks, maybe a month, but then it's gone, and it doesn't last either. You have to do weekly in order to foster that like community experience that like we really miss with Part 6. And the thing about JoJo is that it's very community driven. It is the most like community like heavy show fan base I've ever seen, I've ever been a part of, because like that was the only way that you could get into JoJo back in the day. Again, I've been a JoJo fan for like 13 years. Like 2013 I got into it. So for 13 years, like back then you had to be like the community was your support. Like you had to read fan translations and be exposed to fan memes as a way to like be a JoJo fan. Now that it's gotten to like Netflix, and Netflix just kind of does whatever it wants, like it enters into this crazy clash with the community that has formed around JoJo, and I don't like that. And I'm very wary of how exactly they're gonna release Steel Ball Run, because I love this first chunk. These first 40 minutes that I watched were incredible, and I'm so eager to see more. But right now, at the time of recording this, they have said nothing about when we'll see more, and that is something that I'm worried about, because they could just go silent for like half a year and then come back with a just announcement of like, hey, Steel Ball Run Stage 2 is coming in this like December or whatever, and I'm like, no, you can't do that. You can't do that to me. You can't space out Steel Ball Run over like 3 years. You can't do that to me, okay? I'm gonna need something more consistent. I'm not saying immediate, just consistent, okay? That's what I need. My dream scenario, the dream scenario would be that next week there's a second episode, and then they just keep doing that per week. What I think would be ideal, that's not dreamy, but ideal, it's them going silent for like maybe a month, and then coming back and being like, okay, we're gonna do weekly releases, everybody. We have like a bunch of 20-minute episodes ready to go. We're gonna do that. And then they just do that. Having like a distance between this first stage, like OVA that I just watched, and then the rest of the season as a normal season, but releasing weekly, I'd be okay with that. Because this first stage did feel like a special thing, but I'm really worried that they're gonna do that for the whole thing, and I hope they don't. Those are my concerns for the future of Steel Ball Run. Hopefully they are misplaced. Hopefully. We'll see. But I was just really excited. I was just really happy. I just wanted to yap about JoJo. I just wanted to yap about Steel Ball Run because, again, this has been in the making for a long time, because like I read Steel Ball Run and then I was like, I'm going to wait until they animate it to see it again. And it's been 12 years. And I'm here, finally. So yeah, Steel Ball Run is so good. Okay. Everybody, that's it for this video. I don't know. I was just yapping, really. Thank you for tuning in if you did. See you next time. Bye.